I used to have this childhood fear of being locked inside a small space, like a closet or a car or a room or something like that, and not being able to get out. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't realize that almost all enclosed spaces, bathroom, closet, things like that, that have locks, have the locks on the inside, so that if you're inside, you can unlock it and get out. But if you don't know that as a kid, or if you have accidentally locked the door and then panicked and you forget and you're sort of freaking out and you're not able to unlock the door from inside, it's impossible for somebody from the outside to help you because they're on the outside and the only one who can help is someone on the inside. I used to have this terrifying fear that I'd be locked inside a place and wouldn't be able to get out, or that I'd be locked inside a place and so panicky that I wouldn't be able to let myself out. Adult me is a little more in control of those fears, but I still remember it enough with that sort of muscle memory of the soul that I know what it's like to be the first disciples of Jesus on that Easter day, when they are so afraid of all that's happened and uncertain about what any of it means that they lock themselves inside a room. This Sunday we hear the story of what happens later that Easter Sunday, after the glorious moment with the angels and the stone rolled away, when the disciples are just plain afraid. And it's not that they haven't heard the rumor about the tomb being empty. It's not that they haven't heard the report from Mary or even what Peter and the other disciple had heard and seen at the tomb, but they just can't dare to believe it's true. They haven't seen Jesus yet for themselves, and so everything sounds too good to be true about resurrection, and everything they know about the world and the way the world operates is that the empire killed Jesus and was surely coming after them next. After all, even when Jesus was on trial, there's Peter being singled out by the crowd from the lynch mob around, recognizing Peter by his accent. And now you're one of him, right? You sound like one of them Galileans. They're all afraid. They're afraid that the mob will come for them, that the empire will come for them, that the respectable religious people who stirred up the crowd against Jesus will do the same to them. They are afraid, and they have literally locked themselves inside a room. And nobody can get in as long as they've got the door shut and locked from their side. Except, of course, Jesus. This is the wonder of this story for me, is that Jesus doesn't wait on the other side of the door for them to be brave enough to open it. Jesus knows they will never be brave enough to open it on their own. The reason that they are trapped inside is that they are afraid of anybody getting in. So if Jesus has to wait for the disciples to calm down, for the disciples to be mature enough, for the disciples to be brave enough to step out into the world again, he'll be waiting forever. So Jesus does what he always does. He comes into the midst of them while they are afraid, while they are doubtful, while they are uncertain that Jesus is risen. In other words, before they have faith in the resurrection, Jesus comes to them, and his presence is what gives them faith. His presence is what enables them to believe. Whether it's the 10 disciples gathered in the room, or later on when Thomas says, "I won't believe unless I see and put my fingers in the nail holes and in the wound in his side," Jesus shows up for all of them. It's Jesus' presence that makes faith possible, not the other way around. So often we church folk have a way of talking about Jesus' presence being given like a reward if you have faith, right? If you believe, then Jesus will come to you. If you believe, then Jesus will do this for you. If you trust well enough, then Jesus will show up and help you or bless you or give you courage or whatever. That's not the way the Bible stories actually work. It goes the other way around. While we are still afraid, while all we bring is our fear and our doubt and our awareness of the encroaching darkness, Jesus shows up and makes it possible for us to trust and to step outward into the light. And that's what happens too. Jesus doesn't just meet these disciples and say, "Okay, you guys, you can just stay here forever, and I'll just come periodically and visit." Jesus comes, finds them afraid, and gives them courage, finds them unable to believe, and shows them, "Look, I'm alive." And then Jesus does something vitally important. He breathes on them like God breathing into the dust at creation, and brings them to life and says, "Receive the Holy Spirit." And then sends them out and says, "The same way I was sent by God, now I'm sending you The same way I have authority to forgive, I'm telling you, go and announce forgiveness to people. Anywhere you go and declare it, people will receive forgiveness. Anywhere you go, you will tell people the news of the resurrection. Anywhere you go, you will now be brave enough because you've been given the Spirit. So you now have the courage to step outside of the locked doors. Whatever faith is, it's not a prerequisite for God to show up in our lives. In fact, it's the other way around. God shows when our faith is wobbly and weak and failing and maybe even non-existent. And it's God's presence that gives us faith, that enables us to trust. Maybe all our lives is just learning how to trust a God who keeps meeting us when all we bring is fear and coaxing us out of the rooms we lock ourselves in. It's awfully easy to find ways in our lives to basically shut ourselves in. I don't want to deal with the bad news out there in the world or read the headlines. I'll keep my ears covered and ignore it. I don't want to have to deal with the uncomfortable stuff of life, so I'll just sort of sit inside my room. I don't want to have to deal with the things I'm worried about, so again, we turn religion into this sort of isolation chamber. Jesus isn't interested in that. He finds us where we are, takes us by the hand, and leads us out. That's the conversation we're having this Sunday, for the second Sunday of Easter. We hope you'll join us then, as Jesus takes us by the hand and leads us out into the world.